Jane. Jane's got an online store and she's doing pretty good.
Crushing it.
But like every store owner, Jane wants an app.
I want an app.
You need an app.
I can't build an app.
But she could. With Tapcart, she was able to design and launch the perfect app for her brand without having to deal with her developer. Now Jane can spend more time on the things she loves, being creative, connecting with her customers, and collecting sweaters for her dog, Sadie. Hey, Sadie.
Watch this.
Tapcart enables Jane to send these interactive push notifications directly to her customers, getting them back in the app and making purchases. Back on top. So what's next?
Flash sale.
Updating her app is a breeze. Add new blocks, feature a sale, share new content from anywhere. Plus, Tapcart keeps her app up to date with the latest technology. So no more dealing with this guy. This is the future, Jane.
Yep, I'm the future.
Your brand, your products, your app. Tapcart.
How cool is that, huh? Welcome to No Code Week Founder Stories. Today, we're sitting down with Tapcart CEO and co-founder Sina Mobasser. My name is Jose Barrera, and I'm the CEO of StartupStarter. Now, without further ado, let's bring on stage Sina Mobasser. Hey, Sina, how are you? Oh, you're muted. There we go.
Hi, Jose. Doing great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Yeah, well, let me just get started then with your story. So I was telling you guys before, we really love the brand and what you guys are doing and how easy it is, right, to play with, and just how, like, advanced really this has become. But there is so much more that comes before kind of what Tapcart is now, and I think that's what we really want to kind of talk about, is what it took to get to where you're at today.
Absolutely. It's a long but fun story, and it's not too long, actually. It really started in 2008. I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, so I didn't do summer jobs. I wasn't interning anywhere, really. Like when I was in high school, I would do computer consulting. Had a startup not a startup, but a small company called LA Techsperts, where I was printing out flyers, putting them on people's cars, et cetera, doing computer consulting, going to people's houses, fixing their networks and all that. And once I graduated UCLA, I wanted to work at the VA Medical Center just to get a sense of what a 9-to-5 would be like. And it was a great experience. I was a laboratory IT manager, worked there. And this was about 2007, 2008. And what's interesting is that I saw Steve Jobs' presentation on the iPhone when he announced the iPhone in 2007. In my opinion, it is the single greatest product presentation of all time in history.
I agree.
It was amazing, and it blew my mind. And there's a lot of things that you can learn from that presentation, even little things. Like if you go back and look at the slides that are on the screen there, they're just pictures. So he had a picture of like a CD. He had a picture of an iPhone. He had a picture of an iPod Touch. He was using icons. There was very little text. And I think it's a great thing to learn. If you want to give a proper presentation, you should really be focused in terms of your pitch deck on having as little text as possible and making it very visual. Because if you do have a lot of text, whoever's the recipient or the attendee is just going to be reading the text on the screen, and they're not going to be listening or paying attention to what you're saying. So just a small thing that you can do in order to pitch better as a whole. But I loved it. I was blown away by it. Before that, I had a Windows mobile phone, and it was like half the screen was or half of the device was like a QWERTY keyboard, a hardware keyboard. Half of it was this small screen with a stylus. It was impossible to browse websites. The battery life was like an hour long, and it wasn't very good. So it was game changing. No keyboard, very few buttons, and I was just like, this is something I want to be a part of. But back then, it was interesting because there were no third-party apps when the iPhone first launched. It was just Apple apps. So the Compass app, the Calendar app, there was no Twitter, there was no Google app, there was nothing. There was no Facebook app. And eventually what happened is these developers who typically use Macs, especially on the Objective-C side, they were jailbreaking the iPhone, which is pretty common back then and pretty easy compared to now. And they wanted to create their own apps. So they were jailbreaking the iPhone. They all loved the device. They were smitten by it, but they were like, why can't we develop apps for this? So they started jailbreaking apps. There was a huge community in the jailbreak community.
Right?
Sorry?
That was the first iPhone, right?
Yeah, in 2007. So ultimately what happened is this, I believe, gave Apple the idea, hey, we should maybe allow third-party developers. And that was the launch of the App Store. But initially, when they first launched the iPhone in 2007, there was no App Store. There were no third-party apps. So if you fast forward a little bit, 6 months later, they released a software development kit. I saw it and I didn't know how to code. And I still I'm pretty technical. I've been using computers since I was 3 years old. My parents gave me a Mac 2C. I just loved it. And I've always been using computers, but never really was interested in like becoming a full-time engineer. I was always interested in like the business side, the sales, the marketing, and being able to speak engineering language, but not necessarily like sitting there and coding. So what I did is I went on Elance, which was a tool. It's now called Upwork that you can use to connect with contractors around the world. And I did that. So I found a developer in the Ukraine and I came up with an app idea, and it was to create a pop culture trivia game. So I actually launched one of the first iPhone apps in 2008. It was the 250th app on the App Store.
Wow.
And fast forward 12 years now, there's over 5 million apps on the App Store. It was a pretty popular app because people just love pop culture. They love playing games in their free time. And it was a top 10 iPhone app for several months. So it was on the top 10 listing for the free apps on the App Store. It was getting, even back then, it was getting tens of thousands of downloads a day. And it was getting more downloads. It was ranked higher than the Google app, the Facebook app, and all that. So it was a great experience. The landscape for the whole App Store ecosystem was just very different than what you have now. So there were no push notifications. There were no ad networks. There were no in-app purchases even. And people just weren't paying for apps back then. And they still don't. Now there's and there were no subscriptions. So it was really hard to monetize the app. I had a paid version. I made a pretty decent amount of income from it. But I was still working at the VA, and it was just a really great experience to kind of get my feet wet in the world of mobile apps. So I've been in the mobile app space for over 13 years now, and I've seen the App Store from literally the inception of it, being one of the first few hundred apps on the store, to where it is today. Phones are being used by the average person over 4 hours a day. 95% of the time that we spend on our phones is in a mobile app. So it's, in a native app. And it's just become a part of our society for better or worse, I think. I think a lot of it is for the better, but staring at anything 4 hours a day probably isn't that great for you.
Sure.
So fast forward a little bit. I ended up starting my previous startup. It was called TestMax. It was the first test prep courses for the iPhone and iPad. We started with the bar exam, and law students are paying $5,000 for literally a cardboard box with 50 pounds of books in it. They're charging it was a monopoly. They were charging $5,000 for this. And my cousin, Mike Ghaffari, who's at Canvas Ventures now, he's a partner there. He came to me and said he went to Harvard. He got his MBA and JD there, and he wanted to take the bar exam. He's up in Silicon Valley now. He wanted to take the California bar exam, and he saw that there's this huge monopoly called Barbary, and they don't really have a patent on the law. It's just courses, and we licensed multiple choice questions. We created our own course curriculum, and there was no iPad at the time. So we wanted this just to be a study tool, like a supplement with audio lectures, with multiple choice questions, flashcards, etc. And we launched it as a $1,000 app. $1,000 is the most that you can charge on the App Store. And it is still to this day. And at that time in 2009, there was only one other $1,000 app. It is called I Am Rich. It is basically what you do is You pay $1,000 for this app, and you open it up, and it just has a jewel on the screen, and it flashes and this diamond that says "I am rich," and that's it. Literally did nothing else. $1,000. So, and if you look at it to this day, obviously NFTs are really hot right now. And if you think about it, that was actually probably the first NFT, at least in the mobile app space, that I can think of. Way ahead of its time. They sold 60 copies of it. The developer did in a couple of weeks. It got on TechCrunch. It got a lot of press. $1,000 app. Apple ended up pulling it from the App Store because they're like, this is not really in line with our App Store ethos and our guidelines, which are ever evolving. And ultimately what happened is they pulled it, and now we launched a new $1,000 app that was actually worth it. So that's an interesting thing for any would-be entrepreneur. If you're starting your own startup and you want to try to get press, it's always good to have a really good hook or a really good angle. So we went to MG Siegler, who was at TechCrunch at the time, and we were like, hey man, this is a $1,000 app. He ran with it, and he wrote about us a bunch of times. Really appreciative, really appreciate everything that he did, helping us get BarMax off the ground. Forever grateful to him because it gave us a lot of social proof and validation. And he wrote about it a couple times. It was the first $1,000 app that's actually worth it. That was the title or the subject of his article. And I love that. He talks about the I am rich. You can still look up the article today. This was in 2009. And interestingly enough, the week that we launched in January 2009, Steve Jobs went on stage and he announced the iPad. So we had built this supplement for the iPhone and iPod Touch. And there's only so much studying you can do. Obviously, like we would send them a book with, the lecture contents and things like that, like a textbook. But ultimately, we wanted people to do most of their studying on the iPhone and iPad, but it's a little bit limited with the screen size. So here comes the iPad, and we're like, man, this is amazing. People are actually going to study this. I ended up quitting my job. Me and my co-founder at the time, we started TestMax. We created courses for the bar exam, for the LSAT. And obviously now with COVID and everything, I had an exit opportunity in 2014, which I took, still a shareholder, still cheering from the sidelines. And the company should be doing really well and is. And it led me to end up starting Tapcart with Eric. So I connected with Eric in 2012. I was running TestMax. He was running his company, Mobile First Studios. It was a mobile first agency, and we were running it out of the first co-working space in Los Angeles that I know of. It was called Coloft, and it was on Santa Monica Boulevard and 9th Street, so close to downtown Santa Monica. Started out as one office. People just come in, you rent out a desk, pay a few $100 a month, and got really popular. They were having hackathons there. They opened up the space next door. And they connected these two offices, and we had a dedicated pod of like 5 or 6 desks. And it was such an awesome experience because we were sharing an office with Uber. Uber opened their first LA office out of Coloft. It was 3 people at the time. I remember Abby, Saeed, William Barnes, and a few others. It was just literally a team of 3 people. There was no Uber X at the time. It was just a bunch of limousine drivers and all that. So it was really awesome watching them grow. Obviously, they outgrew that office in like a couple of months, but we were working late nights. Instacart opened up their first LA office there. So I'm literally sharing an office with Lux, with Uber, with Instacart. And it was just a really fun time, man. Just really awesome memories, great experience, just watching these huge companies that were just getting started back then. Okay. So Eric and I connected there, and we stayed in touch. I went back to Coloft in 2015 after I left TestMax. And I think it's just a lesson, when one door opens, another door is often, when one door closes, another door is often going to open. So that's the first lesson that I would give to people. Things happen. And in entrepreneurship, in business, there's so many ups and downs. Don't get too caught up in your feelings. Don't get too caught up in things. It's not easy, but just keep going, keep pushing through. And before you know it, like another opportunity will come up. So I created the first iPhone app, one of the first iPhone apps. And it was a great experience. But to be honest with you, like I didn't know the first thing about business, and I would beat up on myself because I was like, man, I could be making more money from this. It's like a gold rush. It's such an opportunity. Like, I need to quit my job at the VA and do this full time. So I had a lot of doubts and thoughts that, I could be doing this differently and I need to monetize this more. And you can just sit there and beat up yourself a lot over it. But you know what? That experience led to my cousin Mike reaching out to me and being like, yo, let's start BarMax. And I started BarMax and we created TestMax. And I left TestMax, and instead of getting all down on myself, like with this exit opportunity, I looked at it like there's one door closes, another is going to open. So I went back to Coloft. Eric was still there, and he was running an agency. I was doing social media consulting, sales and marketing. I created a company called Limitless doing consulting. And ultimately what I did is, we connected. We ended up moving to a WeWork. A WeWork had just opened up on the 3rd Street Promenade. I loved it. It was dog friendly. Unfortunately, Coloft wasn't. So I moved there. I told Eric, hey, you should move your business here too. He did. We stayed in touch. We were working late nights, and he initially had the idea for Tapcart. Shopify had just released a mobile SDK, which allowed you to access their Shopify dashboard and all of the products, collections, and everything else from a mobile app. So Eric, being the hacker guy he is, very much like Toby, who's the CEO of Shopify, he created the original idea for Tapcart. It was called Tapsell at the time, where you can literally create a mobile app. Tapsell, yeah, that was the initial idea. We ended up changing it to Tapcart. And I told him I loved it because you can actually it was so easy to create an iPhone app back then, and still to this day, it's really hard to create an iPhone app. But with the SDK and everything else, you could create one really easily. So I was blown away by it. I was telling him, yo, you need to just drop your agency and you need to pursue this full time on your own. This is a great opportunity. Just go do it. Build something that can last a lifetime. Build something that can scale to thousands of customers, millions of customers, instead of just the 5 or 10 that you can work with at a time as an agency. And I just kept bugging him. I was like, dude, you need to just do this. And I kept bugging him. And honestly, eventually he came to me in late 2016 and was like, we should just do this together. And that was the inception of Tapcart. We started it, just the two of us in a WeWork in Santa Monica. 2-person office. He transitioned a few of his team members from the design and engineering side, and we got off the ground. We bootstrapped it for about 6 months, 2017, and then we raised we started collecting orders. We didn't have a product yet. I was doing all of our sales and marketing early on. We were collecting orders through Stripe, and I was just selling people on a vision. So that's another learning lesson that I would give to people is you don't have to have a product to sell it. So, and I'm clear proof of that, because we didn't have a product. We were collecting orders. I was just like, Leo, this is going to be great. Imagine having a mobile app for your store. And you're just selling a vision and a dream. And people started paying us $99 a month. We were getting pre-orders for something we didn't even have yet. And it was a great time. We were collecting, we were printing out the receipts of the orders. We were putting them up on the wall. Before you know it, I'm getting a little nostalgic, thinking about it. But you started out with 5, 10, et cetera. And ultimately, you just have this wall of a lot of different orders coming in, and it's just a great experience. So, in the end, it was great. We bootstrapped the business for about 6 years. We ended up then raising our first fundraising round, which was through Luma Launch. Laurent Grill spearheaded that. It was a convertible note. And fast forward, we started taking a salary. We went the first 6 months without taking a salary, took a small salary, started getting some team members, gave them equity, things like that. And fast forward a couple of years, we're now serving thousands of Shopify brands, including a lot of the biggest e-commerce brands in the world. Fashion Nova, Culture Kings, Figs. They're all our customers. A lot of them are just in our customers' apps in the last 365 days. There's been over $1 billion in sales. A lot of it processed, most of it processed by Shopify. And it's been an amazing story. So we've grown our team to over 60 team members. We have raised 4 fundraising rounds to date, including a Series A, which we raised in April of 2020. So right when the pandemic was starting. It's hard to raise money in a pandemic, but we were able to do it. And it really helps out because obviously the company, it tells you a lot about the company, the culture, our team members, et cetera. But it's also great being in a pandemic-proof industry. So Shopify, e-commerce, mobile apps, these are all great things to be connected with. Yeah. And just a quick bit of background, basically what Tapcart is a Shopify for mobile apps. So everything that Shopify did, making it really easy for anyone to start their own e-commerce store with no code or low code required in a matter of hours. This was something that would take, traditionally, you'd have to hire an agency, pay them tens of thousands of dollars. It would take months to create your website custom. And then you'd have to have a development team as a retainer on staff. And it was just really hard to do. So Shopify came along and made it really easy for anyone to create an e-commerce website, starting at just $29 a month. And we look at Tapcart as a Shopify for mobile apps. So everything that you can do with Shopify and a website, Tapcart enables you to do that for mobile apps. So we latched on to Shopify. Back then in 2016, there were only about 125,000 merchants. Now they're over a million and 1.2, 1.3, something like that as of now, 2021. And that's another learning lesson and a good story is if you're going to latch on to another tech giant, whether it's Amazon with AWS or Apple or Shopify or whatever, just really think long and hard about who you're connecting with. It's not, if we had integrated with Magento, for example, from the start, probably wouldn't be in the place that we are today. So part of it is luck, part of it is skill, just connecting with a really good partner. And it's always great to connect and partner with a rocket ship like what Shopify is. So fast forward, we have thousands of customers and doing over $1 billion in sales across our customers' apps a year and growing exponentially actually right now. And we're a team of 60. We're continuing to grow. And it's just been a really awesome experience. I think every day is a new challenge and a new adventure. And eventually you're going to get to a point like where we are now, where you start to bring in a lot of specialists. So VP of customer success, VP of engineering, our director of product, director, head of data, all these people are just experts in their field. And it allows us to, what me and Eric do now is we do a lot, but we're trying to do less and less in terms of the day-to-day and keep the company funded, make sure we have money in the bank and recruit and drive the general vision and direction of the company. We try to do that as much as possible and keep inspiring our team members, have a culture that people want to come to work every single day and really enjoy what they do. So that's a little bit about me. Hopefully that's, if you have any questions, please feel free to
I got a ton. That's a really good story. Divine timing, a lot of it, right? Like, man, like the 250th app, that's like an NFT right there, right? Do you have that somewhere?
Hey, I wish I did, honestly, but that's a great idea. I can see if I can dig that up and maybe I can make millions off of that. So
yeah, for sure. That one's huge. And then follow-up questions. So like we kind of breezed through the, kind of, okay, you got to now Tapcart and you have the store and the co-working and Eric and all these things. However, there's so much more that happens in between there. At which point did you feel that, okay, this is something now, and like I'm just going to commit full time. Like we're not going to quit. We're going to make sure this happens. Like, what was that moment like?
It was really when we first started. It was something that we came together. He came to me and said, "I want to do this full time." He had a larger agency than I did. I was just a one-man shop. So it was a harder decision for him, I'm sure. I was ready to go. I was bugging him. I was bugging him to just do it on his own because I'm a friend of his. We were friends before we started Tapcart. We're still friends, and we're friends first. And I think that leads to a healthy partnership starts with that for sure. Before Tapcart, we would go on weekends, Fridays, we'd go get beers over at we're at the Fairmont, over at Bungalow, all these places in Santa Monica, and we would complain about our clients, which is what agency owners do. And it really brought us together. And ultimately, that bonding led up into him having the trust in me to go on this journey with him. And it is definitely a journey. And I think as soon as we started and he came to me, I was ready to pursue it full time, and he was too.
Okay. And was it always the same idea? Did you just decide, hey, it's a Shopify we need to go with? Like it was always
Shopify for mobile apps from day one and still to this day.
Okay.
We are planning to, and we're currently we're partnered with BigCommerce recently. We're going to be making that announcement soon. We're going to be expanding to other e-commerce platforms, but we're Shopify first, and we're going to continue to be Shopify first until for the foreseeable future.
Cool. So it was always a well thought out business idea, right? It's not like something like in between, like, okay, you know, this is actually going to be really good. Okay. And now following on that story, once you, like, and you're selling $99 or like a promise, hey, we're going to deliver X. That wasn't you guys were fulfilling orders, more like, hey, we're going to send you guys an app. What was that like? And what was the, like, if I went to say, hey, yes, you know, I would love to play with you guys, I just pay you, and then down the road, you guys send me an app, or do you guys send me actually Tapcart that I can design an app for myself?
Yeah, we were taking pre-orders. So we were selling people on the dream. We eventually knew we wanted to have more expensive plans, maybe charging some scaling pricing, things like that. But to sell something that you don't have yet, it's a good idea to offer some kind of incentive. So get in early, we'll grandfather you in on certain things so you don't have to pay more later. That's a great way to do it. Offering like premium support, things like that. That's another great thing. And yeah, we were able to get 10 customers within a matter of a week and just sold people on the vision of it. And another story that might help people here is how we got our first customers. We used a combination of things. So we used this technology profiler website called BuiltWith. BuiltWith essentially, what it does is it scans the internet. It looks at the source code of all the websites out there. And based on the source code, it'll tell if you're on Shopify, if you're on Magento. It'll tell if you have the Facebook pixel installed. So it builds these indexes of all the different websites around the world. Are they on e-commerce? What industry they're in? Are they using the Facebook pixel? Are they in this country? So are they using Shopify? So we started out and we got a subscription to BuiltWith. So now we had a list of every Shopify store. Then we would go on LinkedIn and use a service called hunter.io to get the email addresses. So I would take the list of all of the emails, all the domain names, throw them into Hunter, get a bunch of email addresses, use a service called Gmass, which is a tool that you can use to send bulk email from within Gmail and make it look individual and personalized. So it's not like a BCC or something like that. You have a Google Sheet with the first name and email, and you connect that to Gmass. You compose an email, you do the mail merge fields, and you can send hundreds or even thousands of individual emails with the click of a button. So that's really how we got Tapcart off the ground, is just doing that. And yeah, it was just a really fun time.
Gotcha. And then at which time do you guys go from kind of having this bootstrapping concept and idea, like it's kind of going to, hey, we can chill a little bit, like we're a company now? Was that when you guys kind of got funded the first time, or was it beforehand with sales? When did it come?
It's still happening. I think to this day, it's a gradual transition. I don't consider us a small startup anymore. You know, we're still a startup, but there's a lot of things that we're doing now that we weren't doing earlier. Observing federal holidays, catered lunches, things like that, annual retreats to Lake Tahoe, as you know, culture and team building activities. And it really depends on the department or the part of the company. A company is really just a bunch of small companies. In my opinion, a company is just a bunch of small companies and people under a larger umbrella. And we encourage all of our team members to be their own customer, be their own entrepreneur in a sense, and look at their role and responsibility as their own business. And if there's ways to don't just do what your manager tells you to do. That's your traditional 9-to-5 job, and that's not what tech does. Treat your job as your own company. How do you optimize it? How do you make it better? How do you put processes in place to improve and optimize things? What's something your manager is telling you to do that you think can be done better. That's the kind of culture that we have, transparency, clarity, communication, diversity, inclusion. Like these are all things that Tapcart is about. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to really attract A-level players and really some of the top talent around LA and now around the world.
Do you guys still feel like it's a small, like, even though it's not, do you guys feel like it's still like a small family, small company? You guys some kind of—
It is, for sure. It is still a small family and a small company. And it's been tough the last year. We're working remotely. We're still paying for our office lease. We have a beautiful office in downtown Santa Monica. It's a 5,000 square foot office.
Wow.
It's the entire second floor of a building, of a 3-story building. So we love the office. We're still under lease. We have our eyes on some bigger offices, but until then, for the next 18 months at least, we're paying our rent, and we're going to continue to go there. And hopefully in the next quarter or two, we'll all be vaccinated and we'll slowly get back into the office. But really, it's going to be more of a work from anywhere model, I believe, as of right now. So don't quote me on that, but I think we are seeing how efficiently people can work. And I think the days of a Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. that we used to have, those are long gone, and it's probably for the better.
You said 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's still pretty good, even for back in the day, man. Like,
yeah, for back in the day. But people have to commute to work. Some people are parents. Like, it just doesn't work for everybody. And a lot of people will prefer to work most of the time at their home, or have a staggered layout, come into the office a couple of days a week. We're going to be open. We're going to be very flexible. And we want to encourage that as one of our company culture activities, to have this great office that you can come into anytime you want, but have it be really a co-working space and a place that you can collaborate. Sometimes there's just nothing like getting into a conference room with a whiteboard and just going to work with some of your teammates.
Absolutely. Cool. Did the office come before the race or after?
Before the race. Okay. So we went to this office. It's expensive, but we signed a 3-year lease. We wanted it to be somewhere that we stayed for a while. And honestly, when we stopped going to the office in March of last year, we were a team of 22, and now we're a team of 60. So I don't even know if all of us will fit into the office. It's a big space. It's 5,000 square feet, and it's an open office plan. So can we fit 60 desks? Sure. But I think we're going to explore maybe taking over that top floor if they want to move out. We'll see.
Did you guys hire through the pandemic and expand?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we were 22 when the pandemic started, and now we're 60 and we're actively hiring. Wow. We want to get to 100, 150 in the next 12 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Big change then going into that office. Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, actually, one more thing. And for those that haven't seen Tapcart, it's absolutely beautiful. Like the design work, the brand, everything is just impeccable. So one question tied to that: who manages the brand, and is the office reflective of the brand?
Yeah. You're able to create a totally white label mobile app. There's no Tapcart branding of any kind. I encourage you to go download the Fashion Nova app if you want to take a look at what you can do with it. But you don't have to be a really huge brand. It works for brands of all sizes. So it currently only works for Shopify stores. But if you're a one-person Shopify store, if you're a Fashion Nova, which I believe is the biggest Shopify store, it'll work for you. And some of our top industries that it works for are fashion and apparel, beauty and cosmetics, food and beverage is really popular, home furnishings, consumer electronics, and artists and influencers who have merch and other stores. These are the top industries that we have, but really it works for any kind of store. We have some customers who sell mattresses, honestly. Personally, I don't know if I would ever purchase a mattress unless I had a chance to sit on it first or sleep on it or lay on it. But if you look at Casper and some of these D2C brands, like they built the brand and they built the trust, and they have some retail locations if you want to sit on your mattress, but they're able to build that. And these D2C brands, especially in the food and beverage space, are just exploding right now.
Yeah.
And the consistent theme of those industries that I told you, fashion, beauty, food and beverage, frequent purchases made on a recurring basis, smaller ticket items. So not necessarily mattresses, even though we can support that too. But things you're purchasing regularly, and consumable goods like food. and beverage and some cosmetics. Like these are all a great fit for an app because the single biggest benefit of having an app is that it allows you to build an own marketing channel of push notification subscribers.
Right.
A lot of people think, oh, having a mobile app is only for big brands who have a big budget, or it only works for fashion brands. No, that's not true. It works for one-person Shopify stores. It works for some brands that don't even have a website. David Dobrik, one of our customers, he's an influencer. He launched a plan with Shopify and he doesn't even have a website. 99% of his traffic to his website would have been on mobile anyway, because he's an influencer and their content is consumed on mobile almost entirely. So he's like, if 99% of my traffic to my website would have been on mobile, why don't I offer a much better experience with the mobile app, which for all the reasons you use Instagram on your phone, do you go to like Safari or Google Chrome and go to Instagram.com to use Instagram? Instagram.com is a fully functional mobile website. Like it has all of the features that the app does. Not many people know that. You can go to Instagram.com and use Instagram, but virtually no one uses Instagram.com on your phone. Everyone uses the app, and you know why you use the app. 95% of the time that we spend on our phone is in an app of some kind.
True.
And even the phone is an app. If you think about it, the phone is just another app. So the only time that you're not in an app is like if you're using a Safari, browsing the web. Technically, you're in the Safari app, but we'll give them that. But people just expect things to load instantly, respond instantly when they're using their phone. They're physically touching the device. And when you're physically touching a device versus like using a laptop, a trackpad, if you're not using a touchscreen, it's just fundamentally like a different experience. If you're using like a trackpad versus a phone where you're literally touching something, you have different expectations from a consumer psychology perspective. You tap on something, you expect it to respond instantly. And all those little animations and transitions, and it seems subtle, but it actually makes a big difference. People don't have nearly as much patience on a mobile device when they're shopping in particular than they do on a website. And the reason it's important to have a really great experience that converts really well and fast and all of that is people spend about 4 hours a day on their phones on average, but they get over 200 notifications a day on average, whether it's a phone call, a WhatsApp, an Instagram. If you think about it, you probably only have a minute of somebody's time before they're going to get a notification. So it's hard enough to get somebody to your store. If you're on a website, then what's going to happen is you can't convert them as fast. Those little seconds of page loads every time, all of those things add up. And then ultimately what happens is they're going to get a notification from Instagram or a WhatsApp, and they're going to get distracted and they're going to go into that app. And if you're on your laptop and you get that notification, when you're done using your phone, you go back to your laptop, you still have the tab open of what you were doing, the shopping experience. But when you're on your phone and you get a WhatsApp and you're now in the WhatsApp app, phones don't have tabs. They basically have one tab, and that's whatever you're looking at right now. So if you go close the WhatsApp or close Instagram and you get taken back to your home screen, you don't have that visual cue of, oh, I was just shopping. Why don't I finish that shopping experience? And that's why a lot of abandoned carts happen. A lot of abandoned checkouts happen on mobile, is for that exact reason. So it's more important than ever to offer a really great experience. Like our app has buy with Apple Pay buttons on every product page. So it's just like Amazon. One click, you see a product you like, you can tap on it. It pre-fills your credit card, your address, calculates the shipping, and you can literally purchase it in like less than a second with Face ID and Touch ID. Very similar to Amazon One Click. In fact, it's probably a little bit too easy to purchase things, but that's great for merchants, obviously. So there's that, but that's just the experience. That's not the biggest benefit that I mentioned, which is it lets you build that own marketing channel, a push notification subscribers. Examples of own marketing are email, SMS, Facebook Messenger, perhaps, and push notifications. And really, I think email and push notifications are the two most important marketing channels that any e-commerce brand should focus on. Push is really the new email. It has a lot of benefits that email does not. Much higher open rates, up to 8 times higher in terms of click-through rates, much higher engagement. If you're sending a automated abandoned cart email or a back in stock notification, you're just focused on email. It's great. You should keep that as part of your marketing strategy. But it's 99.9% of promotional emails from e-commerce brands end up in somebody's promotions tab in Gmail. And ultimately, like people just, one, a lot of people don't even go to their promotions tab in Gmail. And two, when you do venture over to the promotions tab, you have dozens, if not hundreds of unread emails. I was looking today, actually, I get over 10 emails an hour in my promotions tab. And they're all in bold text, they're all unread. And if you think about it from a marketing perspective, if you're just focused on email, that's where your messages are going and your message gets diluted. Open rates are fairly low, but continue doing it because it gives you a really high ROI. Like it doesn't cost money really to send email. You may pay your email service provider a monthly fee, but sending one-off emails to like 1,000 or 100,000 people doesn't cost more money.
Yeah.
Where with SMS, another own marketing channel, SMS is good, but it's expensive. It's going to cost at least 1 cent per SMS. If you want to send a message to 100,000 people, it's going to cost you at least $1,000. And with push, there's no extra cost. It's just like email. And the great part about push is that it's a real-time component. So every single one of your message gets delivered instantly, where with SMS, a lot of SMS is rate limited. So you can only send 25, maybe 100 SMS per second. That seems like a lot, but if you're a big brand, that could take over 24 hours just to send one SMS. So forget trying to do like a time-sensitive flash sale, where with our platform, whether you have like one push subscriber or 10 million, you can like get a message delivered to all of them within seconds at no extra cost. So you can do new product drops, new content announcements. Not every push has to be promotional, but if you do want to do a flash sale, you can do a 20-minute flash sale or a 1-hour flash sale. And that's something that you just cannot do with email. You cannot do with SMS. You cannot do with social. So that's really the biggest benefit. Build you this own marketing channel of push notification subscribers, keep it in your marketing stack, and own your audience. Really grow and cultivate and nurture this owned marketing channel of push subscribers. And if you ask any e-commerce brand, what is your most valuable marketing asset? They're probably going to say it's their email list, honestly. It's something you should probably have been growing from day one of starting your e-commerce brand. Hopefully you did. And it's something that you grow and you nurture over time and you get more engagement and it becomes a really powerful marketing tool. Push is the new email. So a lot of potential customers come to me and they're like, I only have 10 employees. I'm too small for an app. One, it's like a drag and drop interface. It's so easy to update and manage your app. You don't even need us. You can just go to the dashboard, create it really quickly, update it whenever you want through our dashboard. The next time anyone opens it, that's exactly what they'll see. So it has that real-time component. If you want to do a product drop, you just go in, you move some blocks around, drag and drop, hit save. And the next time anyone opens your app, that's exactly what they're going to see. So that's really what it comes down to, is have this in your arsenal, focus on email, focus on push, focus on these marketing channels that you own that aren't very expensive. And you're going to see a lot of growth over time. In my opinion, the best way to ensure long-term growth for any e-commerce brand is by launching a mobile app and growing and cultivating your audience and your network of push notification subscribers. So that's the pitch for Tapcart. That's really what it comes down to. And we're seeing a lot of brands. Carly Jean LA, one of my favorite customers, they're based here in Los Angeles. They launched with us a few months ago. They already have 20,000 push subscribers on iOS and Android. And imagine you just go to our dashboard, you send a message, and 20,000 people will get a message delivered right on their lock screen. It can have images, videos, countdown timers. You can send them voice memos. That's coming soon. And you can get them delivered within seconds and push notification. Yeah, through the app. So it's just a great way to engage your customers in real time. It's an amazing tool. And we're really empowering these brands around the world to be their own customer, be their own brand, and really giving them the tools to grow your audience and compete in this world where Amazon it's tough to grow a brand on Amazon. I love Amazon. It's very customer focused, but the reality of Amazon is if you're very successful on Amazon, history tells you that there's going to be a bunch of knockoffs from other countries. And if other countries aren't knocking it off, Amazon has its own third party, their own like private label brands that they have. So these are all great for customers, but it's really tough to get use Amazon as a long-term sustainable marketing channel, which is really why we love Shopify. It really empowers these brands. So currently, Tapcart only works with Shopify. You have to be on Shopify, but we're going to be expanding support for other e-commerce platforms soon.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. What's the cost? Last question.
Starts at just $99 a month. We have an enterprise plan that's $1,000 a month and up, that comes with a lot of white label service, your own dedicated app manager, enterprise only integrations like Klaviyo, Tapcart Drops, which is an automation tool, and just a lot more. But it starts at just $99 a month. So no brand is too small. You can get started with that plan, and we want to grow with you. We want to continue to provide you the tools to succeed, watch you grow, and we're just really in on this journey together.
That's amazing. Wow. Sina, thank you so much for the last 45 minutes we've been talking. Story is incredible, like timing, just how much you brought on, how much knowledge about Tapcart. So thank you for this. Thank you for those watching, and until the next time, see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, bye, Sina.